So
So
that's a quick little bit of an overview, but
yeah, that sounds like a well executed plan. The question is, what are the problems you're running into now? That's because of the flooding. What are the problems that's going on now? That's because of the rain and the flooding. What are the problems that's happening now in the communities now that will be beneficial when that happens?
Yeah, and maybe Jim, can you talk about daylighting the creek? With Newmarket Creek, there's piping in there currently. So can you go over what daylighting means and bringing those pipes up?
absolutely. There are certain areas I'm always a fan of, and we're going to use several different methods to take care of water. We're going to actually have some underground storage. But I am the one that really likes to get the water to the surface and allow plant life to clean the water before it gets back into the river. So there are certain areas along King Street, Hugie Street, and some of the neighborhoods that are bordering that section of the low line that are experiencing flooding. And the way to deal with that would be to take some of these pipe systems, specifically at Hugie and King Street, if we can get that daylighted. And there's also an area near where the railroad crosses, creates a berm. If we could get that water pocketed out of there and into our water treatment area, which will be underneath those overpasses, that's going to make things better. So yeah, we're going to eliminate some pipes, but we're going to treat it in a way that we can get the water to the areas that we can control the runoff and get the flooding out of the neighborhoods, getting flooding out of the streets. And as we cross these 7 drainage basins, we're going to look at each opportunity to take the water, take it on, treat it, take it to floodable areas, and get it away from the areas that are creating the problem.
Yeah, and Jim, to add on to that, it's really about working with the water. So, that's what Jim Hamilton and his team have been researching and finding these things about is working with it rather than trying to just push it into different things. And so that's why these techniques of daylighting and using the piping, it's really embracing that water.
Right. And this water is really coming from when it rains or floods per se. The excess water that's coming into the community will be used for good use through the low lines, what you're saying.
Exactly. That highway, when that was built, that's a concrete surface. There's nowhere the water can go. So really right now it's just running off of that highway and flooding spaces and kind of putting some pressure on those neighborhoods. And we're just hoping that this can kind of alleviate that and help it in a more natural way.
No, I think it's, go ahead, Jim, I'm sorry.
When you drive that highway, we've all driven it, and we drive it almost every day. Think about this. 23 acres of impervious surface gets collected on those highways, and in some cases goes through little openings and free falls down to the ground. Where does that water go? We're in a low country flat zone, and the water ends up going into neighborhoods, ends up going to floodable areas underneath those overpasses. We're going to take that and collect it and manage it and clean it before it gets back to the river. So,
and really when Jim talks about cleaning it, it's using the wildlife, using the plants that are there. So, that can be such an educational piece that maybe people are missing, like what is that marsh doing and how does it really benefit? Because once, we can do some educational signage and things like that, people can actually learn about that natural process. And so I think that can be such a good thing to engage our youth in how this ecosystem works and how the low country works.
DAE TV, find a better life.